Good evening and welcome back to the Masonic Roundtable, a weekly hangout where Masons from around the country get together to talk about Masonic news and opinions in a friendly and social manner. The standard disclaimer applies. The thoughts and opinions expressed here are solely the opinions of the participants and do not represent any Grand Lodge statements or positions. Please make sure you keep your conversations open for the public and on the level. Tonight, as usual, we are soliciting questions and comments from you via Twitter and Facebook at the Twitter handle @MasonRoundtable and or with the hashtag TMR episode 24. That's TMR episode 24. Let's do a quick round of introductions. My name is John Ruark. I am the past master of the Patriot Lodge number 1957 in Fairfax, Virginia, and I will hand the reins over to Robert Johnson.
Hey guys, Brother Robert Johnson here, the Senior Warden of Waukegan Lodge number 78 in Waukegan, Illinois, and host of Whence Came You, Masonic Podcast.
Okay, Nick.
Hi, I'm Nick Johnson. I'm past master of Corinthian Lodge in big time Farmington, Minnesota, and that's about it.
Brother Juan.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Juan Sepulveda. I am a member of Yola Lodge, number 207 in Orlando, Florida, and I'm the host of the Winding Stairs Freemasonry podcast.
Excellent. And last but not least, Jason Richards.
Thanks, John. My name is Jason Richards. I am the Senior Deacon of Acacia Lodge number 16 in Clifton, Virginia. I'm also the author of the blog, The 2-Foot Ruler, Masonry in Plain Language.
Excellent. All right, gentlemen, brothers. Let's see, tonight's topic is about our favorite Masonic books. Now, this is something that we've had many people ask us if we do a show about. Over the episodes, I mean, we've done 24 episodes already, we've talked about different books related to the topic at hand. And some we liked, some we didn't like, some gave us additional insight. It's now time to really share amongst ourselves a quick review of any of our favorite Masonic books that we have read, or currently reading, or are on our bookshelf. So what we're going to try to do tonight is, instead of spending way too much time on any one particular book or topic, we will let each participant start with a book and discuss it, just to kind of quickly what it is, what they liked about it, what the topic is, and give everyone a chance to kind of chime in on if they've read it and what they liked or didn't like. And then with that, we'll just go right to the next book. So who wants to volunteer to be the first book recommender? Nobody at all.
All right. You know what? I'll go ahead and I'll do it.
When in doubt, Jason will do it.
Yes. You know what? Just stick me in front of that bus. So this is one of my favorite books that I've ever had the privilege of owning. And we're talking about Masonic books.
Oh.
I'm sorry. Oh, geez. Yeah. Wow. I am so sorry. So let's see. This is a little more the genre. This is called The Freemasons: A History of the World's Most Powerful Secret Society, written by historian Jasper Ridley. And as you all know, I am a huge history buff. I studied it in undergrad, and I've never quite gotten away from it. The thing that I love so much about this book is, one, Jasper Ridley is not a Mason himself, but he presents a very, very objective, no BS view of Masonry from primary sources and what we can tell. So he goes through everything from, before 1717 up through the Morgan affair, where he has some very interesting things to say about what might or might not have actually transpired. And then he also goes through the time of anti-Masonry in the 1800s up until about 10 years ago. And it's just a fantastic historical account of the fraternity, written by a man who is doing this purely for the love of historical knowledge.
So what do you think separates that book apart from any other historical aspects of the fraternity?
This book relies very, very heavily on primary source materials. Oh, I've read a couple other histories of the fraternity, and some of them written by Masons. They delve a little bit more into the philosophical elements of the fraternity. The great thing about having a non-Masonic historian is that they don't pull any punches. There's no agenda here. There's no anti-Masonic agenda, and there's no agenda to make the fraternity appear better than it really is.
Okay.
So I think it's just you can't get a more balanced account of the history of the fraternity as we know it today.
Excellent. All right. Any other discussion there?
Just to say that book is, I'd like to just echo Jason, that book is fantastic. I was actually given that book by my worshipful master last year, and his mom gave it to him of all people, and it is a great book.
Very cool. Okay, Juan, why don't you start off with the next book?
I have here. I don't know if you can see that. First of all, it's a beautiful book.
Ooh, that's pretty.
It's so pretty. It's a Scottish Rite Ritual Monitoring Guide by Arturo de Hoyos. Arturo de Hoyos came to the rescue for me with this book because I'll be honest, whenever I went through the Scottish Rite reunion, there is a lot of information covered in the lapse of just a couple of days. And, this, being able to bring this home gives me an opportunity to actually, little by little, absorb a little bit about not just the Scottish Rite, but it has some very good content about the history of Freemasonry. It has symbols of the fraternity as a whole, not just specific to the Scottish Rite, which helps. And I'll be completely honest, I have read very little of it, considering how big of a book it is.
Are you judging that book by its cover?
I really am. It is pretty, so it's good.
It must be good.
It must be good. But one thing that it does have, I found several quotes in it that put the fraternity on its entirety in a different light for me. There's one here, I hope that I kept it marked, by Mackey, which I know some of you love. And he actually talks that, okay, here we go. This is just a portion that says, but we must never forget that from its foundation stone to its pinnacle, all over its vast temple is inscribed in symbols of living light the great truth that labor is worship. And he's talking about the fraternity, about Freemasonry. And I thought, wow, is our work that not just helps each other, but it's worship. It's like we're showing respect towards God by actually working. But anyway, this was my favorite pick. I like going to it whenever I'm writing something related to the Scottish Rite. And that's it for now.
That's great. I mean, especially for the Southern Masonic jurisdiction folks, that having Arturo de Hoyos' edits of Pike and his compilations, they are just a fantastic ribbon on all the sets of degrees that really help tie things together, that help package it in a more understanding way and with more context, so you really understand what the meaning of the ritual is, vice just trying to interpret, a specific point in time or point in ritual. So he does a great job at that, and I definitely echo that.
How do you compare that to A Bridge to Light? Is it comparable, or are they two separate volumes? Or
They are.
A Bridge to Light is, compared to this, is very brief. It's like an overview of the degrees, and the
You
focus
guys ever
is.
have Cliff Notes?
Yeah, it's like Cliff Notes. It's like this thick. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's rad. It's a cool book. But
It is
it's
good.
definitely not as good as. I mean, I can't say it's not as good. That would be.
Well, actually, so in the preface of A Bridge to Light, and I'll see if I can grab my copy over there. Really, it's a thin overview, like Robert said, and what it literally says in the beginning is it's meant to be a bridge to things like morals and dogma, because they used to give the whole big text of morals and dogma right from the get-go. As soon as you got your 32nd degree, there it is. Juan has his copy holding up nail, and it just was sometimes too much of a jump and too deep and too kind of geeky, if you will, for the average Mason. And so the book A Bridge to Light was created to bridge that gap, to kind of introduce a little bit more deeper without geeking out. So if you wanted to learn more, you now are set up for advancement. But
Look at the
what,
difference.
yeah, look at the difference there.
I'll take the
This
short
is a
one.
book that I have actually gone through cover to cover. So it really is an overview of the degrees.
Okay.
And if that weekend that you go through the actual degrees is a whirlwind, this helps you kind of like sit back and say, and everything starts making sense. And then if you really want to go to the core of what one particular degree had, then you go to the big book.
Mm-hmm.
Does it help with the? Does it help make Pike's readings themselves a little bit more intelligible?
Yeah. And I have actually. I don't know if you can't make his words directly more intelligible, but the actual the footnotes.
That's not a bashing of Pike. That's
it's
just
not a
the
cipher, yeah.
truth of
So many
morals and
commas.
dogma.
It's just a comma after a comma.
All right, let's move on. Okay, Nick, how about
Sure.
you? What's the top of your list?
Let's see. My first one is going to be this secret book. Whoa, it's got a blue cover. What's that all about? Well, see, unlike a couple of the hosts here, we actually can. I know. Cover your ears. This is gonna burn really bad, But we are allowed to have a cipher. And
So what's a cipher, Nick?
Blasphemy.
A cipher is a secret coded thingamabob that tells you all the ritual, and it's fantastic for. I use it a lot for individual study. It's one of those that you can read through a lecture, and you have to hear the lectures. I mean, because it is in code, so you have to read the lectures and learn the lectures and learn the ritual work. But it's kind of nice because once you know it, you can read through it, and it's one of those that I use it as a self-study guide all the time.
But
So
wait,
I know
Nick,
it's
here
Yes.
in Virginia, we don't have ciphers.
well. I'm sorry to hear that, but I give you
We
mine.
hear
but,
it by the sweet, sweet words of a past master whispering into our ears. Go to bed thinking about that tonight.
So your whole ritual pretty much is just not the way I did it, not the way I did
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. This is all we can write down.
Oh.
That's our manual of work, and that's it. A
Oh,
little
wow.
tiny thin thing.
Holy smokes! Yeah,
It's
and
very
actually-
similar to that of Nebraska. Nebraska has select parts of their ritual written down in about the same fashion.
Yeah.
We have in Illinois a book just as thick as Nick's, except it is not coded at all. So the entire book, the only thing that is coded are certain secret parts, but that is the only part that's actually in code. There is no cipher. The entire rituals, the entire lectures, and everything is just laid out.
Interesting.
Why don't you guys just endorse Duncan's?
Yeah.
A little bit different. That might be a little too slanty or something. I don't know.
All right.
Just a
Florida.
little.
All right, Robert. How about you?
Just kind of interesting. I've read a lot of Masonic books. My favorite is actually the one that I just finished not too long ago, and a good friend of mine turned me onto this book. It's a rare one that came out in 1905 by a gentleman named Milton A. Pottinger. And I don't have it in hand because just about the only way I could get it was to find, like on JSTOR, an old facsimile copy of it, which is direct scanned, and then I used a program to turn that into a Kindle file, which I could read on my Kindle, right? But basically, it's called Symbolism. And I'll just read you the description, which is in the inside cover, which says, Symbolism, a treatise on the soul of things, how the natural world is but a symbol of the real world, the modern church with its spire and cross, and the Bible account of Noah's Ark symbols, the pack of playing cards, or Book of 52, an ancient Masonic Bible, each card a symbol of universal law. The United States, a Masonic nation whose duty and history are read in these ancient sacred symbols, the 10 digits constituting our mathematical system, why they are made in the manner they are, why there are but 10. They and the 10 spot cards reveal the same laws. The lost word revealed, many Masonic symbols and biblical expressions given as a new and natural explanation. Text refers to an out-of-print or unavailable addition to this title as a side note afterwards from the publisher who's now publishing it. But essentially, the book really is neat because it starts off with a story of Milton A. Pottinger, and whether the beginning of the book is a creative license where he just wrote a story or whether it's something that he really experienced, he writes it as he experienced it, and he basically was a logger, and he came across a cabin one day, and it was super cold outside, and he went to the cabin, and this old guy knew his name, and they were supposedly neighbors. He didn't know who the guy was. The guy knew a lot about him. Turned out he was a Mason, and taught him like all kinds of universal truths and whatever. It's a very, very interesting book. Again, I wouldn't take everything in the book as solid, concrete evidence of anything. It's very not empirical. So Jason probably would not like it.
Hey,
you'd enjoy it, I think, but it is not based on any kind of there's no historical fact, I don't think, written in it. But the meat of the middle of it, my whole life I've had kind of an affinity with playing cards, and I like playing cards and all that stuff. And it was really interesting to me because the whole meat of the middle of the book talks about how the Book of 52, or the playing cards, were like the first tarot deck, and they're really Masonic the way he explains it. It's kind of a really fun book.
That's very cool. I have to add, though, that your description of the introduction sounds an awful lot like the beginning of Episode 4, A New Hope, where Luke travels far away from home, runs into a neighbor who teaches him all this mystical knowledge.
Right, yeah. So
like Ben Kenobi.
Maybe George Lucas read it. Yeah.
I smell copyright violation.
Maybe George Lucas is Illuminati.
He is. Just ask
Very Illuminati.
All right. So yeah, that sounds like an awesome book. Very cool. That's on definitely my reading list.
I'll send it to you guys. In fact, anybody who's listening, if you can't find it, email me, wcypodcast@gmail.com, and I'll send you a copy of it.
Great.
There's no copyright on it anymore.
So it's out of print, so
we'll post it up on the show notes page.
Even better. There you go.
Yep.
Nice.
Give us a couple days and we'll put it up there.
Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, so mine. For those who don't know, I'm an engineer by trade, so math is good, words are bad, and so it took me a while to be a good Masonic reader. So what do I start with? Picture books. I wanted to start with Freemasonry, Symbols, Secrets, and Significance by W. Kirk McNulty. For those who don't know, Kirk McNulty is an author who actually lives in the D.C. area now and has done a lot of study on the history of Freemasonry, how it relates to the Hermetic Kabbalah. But this book in itself is really more of a coffee book, or coffee table book, which goes into beautiful artwork about Freemasonry over the years, and it's just fantastic from a visual perspective. It does have some narrative that goes with it, but
they're all really big letters.
They're big. Big fonts. You can read it on webcasts. It's great. I'm actually giving you the whole book right here, just turning the page.
Play it in reverse.
Yeah, but it's it's really neat because you get to see, even if you pay really close attention, the evolution of Masonic art over time. I mean, this is something that the visual learners like myself will embrace. I think anyone who's interested in the beauty of Freemasonry and Freemasonry art, maybe even guys who have a FreemasonryArt.com website would enjoy it. But again, very beautiful book, and it's chock full of history. So that's mine.
That totally reminds me of Harvey Birdman. Did you ever see that cartoon?
Yeah.
Where he sits down, he yells out to his secretary, "Debbie, we're going to need law books with pictures this time."
I think that's a comic strip that probably hangs on your wall, and that.
I actually had it taped to most of my law books.
Oh, jeez.
I was in law school.
All right, back to Jason.
Alrighty. Well, the first book was a good bit of history, and my next book that has really become a fast favorite of mine is a different type of history. And this is just really cool from the unique standpoint that it offers. This book is Haunted Chambers: The Lives of Early Women Freemasons by Karen Kidd. And this is a fantastic, fantastic book. It's really, really interesting because it actually goes through all the primary source documentation on women who have been initiated into Freemasonry over the past 400 or 500 years. She has about 6 or 7 concrete examples in here, perhaps more actually, of women who were hiding under the couch when they were doing a Master Mason degree, and they were discovered during the degree, and they just said, "Okay, well, you're in here now anyway." And so this is just a really, really cool history, and regardless of whether or not you agree with the idea of male craft masonry or co-masonry or women in masonry, it's still just a really, really interesting history. Karen Kidd herself is a co-mason, and she's written a couple other books. I haven't read those yet, but this is a fantastic book, and Nick can tell you a little bit about it too, because I think he's read it.
I have, and I agree with you. The way in which she presents the information at a very historically, empirical, filled with evidence, and so it was just very interesting to me because even the line that she uses is from, I'm not sure where, a paper, where they were discussing. It was a paper from the what's that educational lodge out in England with the correspondence course. Anyway, and he discussed the idea that they're the idea of women in these haunted even within our most haunted chambers. And I thought it was just a fantastic book. I really enjoyed reading it.
Very cool. Okay, Juan, back to you.
Okay, well, I didn't bring all my books. I have my books back there.
They're all the way back there.
Yeah. I tried and I yanked myself trying to reach the other one, so I'm not going to do it again. But I do have one thing to mention about publications. We have, of course, access to very old books that, thanks to the blessing of technology, we can do like Robert, and we can find them, scan them, or transcribe them, do character recognition, and have a pretty decent version of the book digitally. But there's also modern. We have very modern writers and publications. We have the digital, the Midnight Freemasons, which I think it's outstanding, and I want to congratulate Brother Jason, who recently published an article on the Masonic Roundtable. It was very good, brother. I really appreciated it.
I didn't publish an article on the Masonic Roundtable.
Oh,
I published it on the Midnight Freemasons.
there you go. .com?
Either way, you stir up trouble.
Actually, I believe it's yeah.
So is he your next author? Is that the one that you're gonna?
Now the other, not an author per se, but a publication.
Ah, yes.
Oh,
Look at that.
It's just a coincidence that.
Hey, I know that.
Don't pay attention to that. That's old. Means nothing. No.
I have that hanging on my wall, Juan.
Nice.
That's awesome.
But actually, I like the idea as a father, and I'm sure that a few of you here can identify with this. It's very rare for us to find some very dedicated moment of solitude where we can sit and read and analyze and take notes. So it's good to also be able to have smaller publications.
So for those who are listening to the podcast version, he held up the Journal of the Masonic Society.
Yes.
Which is a quarterly journal magazine published by the Masonic Society, which it costs about $40 a year to join. But it's very high quality content, high quality editorials and editing, a variety of topics from the philosophical to the empirical, and also gives you a nice charter and pin and dues card to go with that with your $40 subscription. So if you're not already, I fully endorse the Masonic Society membership.
Absolutely. It also gives you access to a forum online where you can continue the conversation based on what you read. So it gives you a little something to read in between the heavy meals of the esoteric and the empirical. So.
And the Reddit threads. Speaking of Reddit,
Ooh,
Nick.
Reddit.
What's your-
that? What's that? I've never seen that before.
There's this thing called the internet.
Oh my god.
Masonic Meme Mondays.
Woohoo! Actually, yesterday was really good. I really liked it. But
It's picking back up, brothers. Good job.
oh man.
How about book number 2? What do you got?
Sure. My second book is by Brent Morris from he's the Grand Secretary or Grand whatever that position is with the Scottish Rite.
The boss.
Supreme Council.
Supreme Council. See, I'm so not in anything outside of a little tiny.
It's
local
not
body.
a nice Knight Mason degree, so why would you know about it?
I know exactly.
I just know that because I had a chat with him a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, and
Not that I'm name dropping.
yeah, exactly. Not that you're name dropping at all, but the book this next book I'd like to recommend is one called A Radical in the East, and I don't have it with me, just like Juan. Only mine's buried way in the closet. These guys are watching me dig through my closet. It was hilarious. Anyway, but if you haven't been able to see or read, the book A Radical in the East, it's one of the best books I've ever read. It's a series of essays that he wrote, and if I remember correctly, Morris was a mathematician, statistician, and so cryptographer, yeah, and he looks at Masonry from a numbers perspective, but not in the way that we usually think of it. And so he looks at why, Scottish Rite became more prominent, York Rite didn't. He looks at why we are, our membership numbers are at 4% of, the male population, and all these other really interesting essays. And I got it because I'm a member of the Iowa Lodge of Research number 2, and it was just one of the books that they threw in. And I didn't really know anything about the book. I got it, and I was like, this has got to be one of the best books I've read in a long time, because it really does it goes into a mathematical way of how we're perceived by the public, how we're perceived within our own fraternity, how our lodges function. He wrote it at a time when he was taking over the East in his chapter, and it's one of those I learned quite a bit, and I was fortunate enough to get the book when I was in my second year as High Priest of my chapter, and I found it to be one of those really, really, really interesting analysis of modern Masonry.
Very cool. Okay, Robert.
Oh man, so I've got so many books that I was thinking about talking about. I wanted to go with something that was a little more fun for a read. Because symbology is a fun read, but it's really cerebral and it gets you thinking really hard. One that's not as cerebral, but gets you thinking, and it's more of a fun read, even though it is kind of esoterically deep. I got to break out, I guess, Manley P. Hall. You can pick this up for like $8 on Amazon.
The Lost Keys of Freemasonry.
The Mason will really enjoy it. If you're not a Mason, I would say don't buy it yet, because you're going to spoil things for yourself in some kind of a way. But the Mason will know that if you buy this copy of it, before you even hit page 1, so I think you open the cover, 1, 2 pages, and on the inside cover there is a drawing that just that one drawing by itself will blow your mind, and you haven't even started the book yet.
Mm-hmm.
But it's by Manley P. Hall. It's I don't agree with the back title. It says a high-ranking Mason offers a fascinating glimpse into the Western world's most secret society. And so we all know high-ranking Mason is not really a thing. I mean, I guess it is among Masons, if you're counting on kind of the ego trip of having super high degrees or whatever. But it says more than a mere social organization. A few centuries old, Freemasonry can be regarded as a perpetuation of the philosophical mysteries and initiations of the ancients. So the book reveals unique and distinctive elements that have inspired generations of Masons. Thoughtful members of the craft as well as outsiders will appreciate its exploration of Masonic idealism and the eternal quest from humble candidate to entered apprentice and master Mason. So really cool book, and it's not long. I mean, a lot of these books, that's like a thing for me, is my attention span is really short when it comes to I have such a hard time reading anything that's not technical, I guess you would say. Like, I need to be able to put it together in my head, and so shorter books seem to do a good job of that. And this book is literally 100 pages start to finish.
Cool.
You could read it in an afternoon if you wanted to. But it's cool. Check it out.
Cool. Okay, looks like we have enough time just for me to go to my second book, and then here we are at the half-hour mark. So, there's so many books. I can see the frustration of everyone trying to pick through and prioritize the ones they want. I definitely see this being a follow-up episode with, book club number 2 or more books, or Return of the Books, Revenge of the Books, something like that. But
Attack of the Books from Outer Space.
Right. I will cover my second book before we get to the social media aspect, which is the biggest kind of enlightening thing for me. I've been getting into more of the esoteric and especially the alchemical backgrounds, and the latest book that I've been perusing has been the Alchemical Keys to Masonic Ritual, written by Timothy Hogan. And it's a very short book, but it's definitely worth the money. And what it does is it discusses, again, it's one of those, if you aren't a Mason yet, either you won't understand it or you shouldn't understand it, because it just puts things in certain context that only a Mason can really appreciate it. But for those who are, he gives an interesting perspective of spiritual alchemy and the process that is undertaken from the alchemist, and how certain actions and transfigurations in alchemy apply to certain pieces of our Masonic ritual, including all 3 degrees. Very eye-opening. You could say a lot of coincidences, but I really don't believe in coincidences. There are some things that are just overwhelming evidence, and so
hindsight is 20/20.
Oh no, I don't believe it.
I was still watching Jason. I'm like,
you see, squirming in his seat as I'm going over this.
oh man.
It's
My head's about to turn around 360 degrees.
But you haven't read it yet. Once you do, your eyes will be open.
So
I will probably say it's an interesting read, and leave it at that.
Very much.
It got actually a little bit of FaceTime. I was on Netflix the other day, and I was watching a show called Myth Hunters, and they were talking about the Book of Thoth, right? And like how all these people are always trying to find the original text. And in one shot, it had these Masons walking doing their thing, and the next shot was like a Masonic bookshop in England. Right center, right in the middle of their window, was Tim Hogan's book.
No way.
Money. Nice job, Tim.
Yeah. Nice product placement there, right?
Yeah.
But either way, I got a lot out of it. I thought it was very enlightening, and it's definitely changed my perspective of Masonic ritual. Once you think about some of those things he's presented, you'll never hear the ritual the same again. With that, I think it is time to go check the Twitter board. Jason Richards, will you do us the honors?
We have a ton of stuff going on
Nice.
in the Twitter sphere and the Facebook sphere tonight. First and foremost, our buddy Donnie Dillon from Rockingham Union Lodge number 27 down in Harrisonburg, Virginia. Go JMU. He mentioned Lost Keys of Freemasonry is a fantastic choice. He just finished it, and he highly recommends Bridge to Light and the Scottish Rite Ritual Guide as well. One of the brethren on the Facebook page, Bill Mullins, says he's wondering if it's bad to admit that his favorite book on Masonry is his first introduction to Masonry, which is Chris Hodap's Freemasons for Dummies.
No shame in that.
None.
No shame in that at all.
That was what was recommended to me by
Hold up,
my
Juan.
mentor.
What have you got there? Look at that. The Freemasons Guide and the Idiot's Guide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
One of the
like
only books they sell at the Washington Memorial.
We used to actually give that out to every candidate, Freemasons for Dummies. Every single one of the guys, we would just give them a copy.
That's fantastic.
I read it cover to cover in one day.
It's like Masonry in plain language.
Yeah, almost like a 2-foot ruler.
There's so much to write a blog like that.
Yeah. I'm just glad Chris Hodap didn't get to it first. No, it's really just a straight, plain discussion on what Freemasonry is, what it isn't, and it's just fantastic for anybody who's interested in the fraternity at all.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said that actually. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I've always told guys to read the Four Dummies like right away, because it's one of those that it just kind of explains everything in a nice, simple format, and then go to the Complete Idiot's Guide after you've been in for about 6 months, and that opens your eyes up to the fact that it's not just the lodge, it's the lodge plus a lot of other stuff, and so
Cool.
that's what I always recommend.
Juan, you were gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say that the Freemasons for Dummies is one of those that if you're starting in the fraternity or if you're thinking of joining, you can get it. It's not gonna ruin your experience.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's gonna nip in the butt a lot of those annoying beliefs that are out there. We would eliminate half of Reddit if more people read it.
Baphomet is real. He's a nice guy here.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, we've got a good 10 brethren just posting their favorite books on Facebook. Another one that Lance Cates really enjoys is called The Craft and Its Symbols by Alan Roberts. He said it's pretty short and it provides excellent information that's easy to digest.
That's great. You know what we should probably do, Jason, is dedicate a next post, probably tomorrow morning, to just ask everyone to dump their favorite book into that thread so we can kind of share and discuss.
Yep, that's the plan, and then what I'll try to do after everybody's gotten a chance to post their favorite book and why, I'll just go ahead and I'll throw links to all those books up on the website, and there will be a other recommended books section for this episode. So go check it out in the next couple days, and I'll have everything up there.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's do some final thoughts and shameless plugs, and then we'll end the show. So let's start with Robert Johnson.
Oh, man. Sweet. All right. So I'm using part of my shameless plugs to say go buy Walking with the Widow's Son. It's another good Masonic book for ladies who have husbands who are in Masonry. Just want to throw that one out there really quick. Shameless plugs would be, one of the ways that we're supporting this show, of course, is through donations. Illustrious brother Stephen L. Harrison gave us an incredible offer. He just came out with a new book. It's in the Kindle version right now. It's going to be published through the Missouri Lodge of Research soon. The book is called Tales from the Craft, and it really is a fantastic book. It's basically like the most interesting little paragraph stories expanded into these incredible, just neat stories about Masonry, right? And so what he's doing is he is donating a portion of every sale to that. Then he contacted me and said, let's do something to help offset the cost of hosting for your show, Whence Came You, and also for the Masonic Roundtable. So he is basically just going to be sending me a check or whatever, and we're splitting that down the middle to help out the Masonic Roundtable and to help out Whence Came You. So if you're interested in that book, you can go to Amazon and check that out. It's called Tales from the Craft by Stephen L. Harrison. It's a Kindle release, and he's going to have updates with that. So as the updates come out, I'm pretty sure your book's going to auto-update. If you go to wcypodcast.com, click on the bookstore, you'll see a link directly to it there, or you can just go to Amazon and buy it. It's not like you have to go through my link to find it or anything. So check that out. If you like,
It'll be up on the MasonicRoundtable.com.
Sweet, there we go, MasonicRoundtable.com. Good old Jason Richards rocking it. As you
there we go.
There's the screenshot.
Nice.
$3, and so even Harrison is giving us $1 of that, if you can believe it. I mean, that's cutting into profit pretty good for him, and I just, beside ourselves with gratitude for that. So an amazing donation on his behalf. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, brother.
So aside from that, if you guys like Masonic podcasts, check out Whence Came You, which is my podcast. It's wcypodcast.com. Publishes on Sunday nights, 9:30. New episodes every week, just like the show. Never take a week off. So check all that stuff out. MidnightFreemasons.org. Brother Jason Richards just put up a fantastic post. It's got 1,000 hits or more already. I think 1,500 hits on it. It's a really great article. So check that out also.
It's not on the front page anymore, so you have to dig for it.
It's like one article down, but if you guys want it, you'll find it. It's a great article.
So much digging.
So I know I went a little long there, but just thanks to everybody for watching the show, and carry on.
Great. All right, Nick Johnson.
Guess who just bought that book? I did, and so can you.
That's so.
I'm excited to read it. I'm gonna do something, and you're gonna get mad at me, but I'm gonna recommend one last book.
Oh.
And it's this one. I'm taking a page from Rex Hutchins, who obviously we've been talking about A Bridge to Light, and he actually recommended that all Masons and all Masonic students should always at least once look through the book that sits on everyone's altars in our lodges, and that's this. This is the Bible. We take a lot of our symbolism and things like that from it, and even if someone isn't a Christian or whatever, it's still important to at least kind of get an understanding of what the background information is that comes out of those. So I've taken that to light, and I've actually found connections in the ritual that I didn't really understand, because when you're reading or when you're going through the ritual, it's one thing, but actually looking back at the source material kind of helps you out a lot. So I've found that to be very helpful. So yeah, I got a third book in. You can visit my blog, millennialfreemason.com, where I did release a post called "The Continuum of Freemasonry," which apparently I've already caused great consternation on the subreddit that I mod. That would be reddit.com/r/Freemasonry. And apparently, by not chastising the Knights Templar for not being universalist in its membership, I am unmasonic. So there you go. So you can call me Nick the Unmasonic Mason Johnson.
You should just tell them all that if they don't support the universality of co-masonry, then the same applies to them.
What? don't put your morals on me, man. Yeah. So yeah, come on out to check out my blog, leave a couple of comments, go read Jason's again, because that was really a good post. So that's it. Thanks, guys.
All right, Juan.
All right. Wrapping up, thinking about today's topic about books. Every one of us has a different collection of books. Some of us read for one reason, others read for another. But the important thing is, brothers, if you're listening to this or watching us, find a book. You don't have to read it cover to cover if you don't want to. Go through it. Get from it what you can. Every time that you go to one of these books, I guarantee you'll get something that you didn't catch last time. And it's a conversation starter. It gets you to do what we're doing, engaging in Masonic communication. That's going to help us get some of those lessons, apply them to our own lives, and become better by it. So do that. There's no shame in skipping through them. Look at the cover, read the end, and you can claim you read it. Just try to get the best from them as you can. I invite you to go to thewindingstairs.com. I have a collection of podcast episodes coming soon, so make sure that you sign up through iTunes, Stitcher, wherever major podcasts are sold. And now that we're approaching this is the third quarter. Approaching the third quarter of the year. Get ready for the closing of the year. Freemasonryr.com. I'll be selling past master aprons. So for all the past masters, I probably will be able to do only about 12. So get in early, and I guarantee that it's going to be the best apron you've ever seen.
That's awesome.
Freemasonryr.com.
Very cool. Okay, Jason.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for watching the show, for engaging with us online, on Facebook, on Twitter. It's fantastic. I love all the discussions that have been going on. Even as we're broadcasting, people are, engaging in their own discussions on Facebook, and I just think that's fantastic. So please keep doing that. Keep letting us know what you want us to talk about, because we want to talk about what's interesting to you. Because I guarantee you, if enough of you find it interesting, we're going to find it interesting as well. And if it's on esoterics and I don't find it interesting, I'll talk about it anyway. You've got that promise. So as the other guys were very gracious. I had the good fortune and the honor of being a guest contributor to the Midnight Freemasons blog on Friday and over the weekend. And I wrote an article entitled "Religious Opposition to Freemasonry, a Christian Mason's Perspective." And what I tried to do with that is I tried to distill a number of the religious anti-Masonic arguments that I've encountered over my 3 years in the fraternity into some broad, easily digestible trends, and just go through each one and talk a little bit about it. I included some recommended reading. One of those books was a book I was going to talk about, Workman Unashamed, The Testimony of a Christian Freemason by Christopher Hafner. Fantastic book. Sadly, I don't have time to get into it here, but I got 2.5 books in, Nick.
Nice.
So, go visit my blog, The 2-Foot Ruler, Masonry in Plain Language. I have a couple newer posts up. One post links to the Midnight Freemasons blog, and then I have another one talking about lodge atmosphere and how each lodge is its own character, and why I think Acacia Lodge was a fantastic home for me. Other than that, if you've ordered pins, thank you so much. I just got the latest batch in the mail, so you all who just ordered them should be receiving them very soon. Keep watching, keep listening, rate our podcast, let us know what you think, like us on Facebook, like us on YouTube, follow us on Google+. Everything. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. John, back to you.
Great. I can't echo that enough. You guys are awesome. As Jason alluded to, we are continuing to sell pins. We have plenty in stock. That has helped out this show tremendously. And so if you'd like to have your own Masonic Roundtable pin, looks sort of like that, go to www.themasonic.roundtable.com. You'll find a shop link at the top, and it would really help out with our podcast hosting costs, as well as providing you new and additional content in the future. This enables us to have a couple surprises for you as we go later on down the year.
And John, really quick, for everybody listening, John alluded to the podcast hosting. So because of the pin
good point.
Correctly, because of the pin sales, we were able to double the bandwidth, and we're like almost caught up. So by like probably the 5th of next month, it's going to be all the way up to date on iTunes, so you'll be able to get it all.
Yeah, that's huge. So again, thanks to your help, we can now listen and react to the things that you want. We know we have a lot of people that like to listen to this on the way into work. Buying those pins has helped us catch up and get that to you. Final thoughts. Nick stole my idea. In the corner here, my skull friend has been reading from his own Masonic book, which is a copy of the Holy Bible. And Actually, this is one of my first Masonic books I ever got. Shortly after being raised to a Master Mason, not having a nice collection of Masonic books back behind me, one of the first books I received was a hand-me-down Masonic Bible from my wife's grandfather. Now, what's interesting is when I was raised, I did not get to keep the Bible that I took my obligation on. So it's very nice that this is the first Masonic book that I got to have, which was the King James Version with a little bit of a Masonic introduction to it. And it means a lot to me, one, for what it is, and two, for the history of it, right? It's an older version of it, not like the new ones that people have today. So as always, being a Christian Mason, it's great to lead with the rule and guide of your life, and then everything else beyond that is further light. And that's why I like to end the show every time by saying thanks for watching, and keep searching for more light. Have a good night.